Hey, good morning, guys. Feel free to switch on your cameras and go live. Where's we're gonna wait for Anthony's here. Good. Okay, because he was going to code today, so I was looking for him. Great. Jaden, you have a question?
Yeah. So you set the practice test to close yesterday. The practice midterm.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's because the notification was on Wednesday, and after Wednesday, it closed itself from any other attempts.
Yeah, it's supposed to close week 6 Wednesday. So I think there must be a bug there. I'll go and take a look after class. Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. Hasanta, are you in a car or something?
Yes, Professor. Yes,
Okay.
Professor. I came to drop off somebody.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to know. Oh, yeah, I mean, today, we decided before, Anthony will code, hopefully, when he's ready. And my goal for today is to basically code a lot of functions involving programs involving functions, and then see what happens when we do certain things to these functions. Okay, I think it'll be a whole lot more instructive than if I talked about functions and what happens. Hopefully you guys got a reasonable idea last week of the internals of what happens when a function call is made, right? So was that useful? Last class we talked about what happens at the CPU level, and memory and stack and heap and so on when a function is called. So if you're solid on that, today when we code, we will implement a bunch of functions, and then when we run the programs, you can actually simulate in your head what's going on. Okay, in light of our discussion on Tuesday, you can simulate what is going on. And then you can even predict what's the output is going to be before we actually hit the run button and see what happens. Okay, so that's what we'll do. Again, we'll start coding at 8:15 or something. And hopefully Anthony should be ready by then. Hey, Anthony, are you here? Anthony?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my camera is being a little funky this morning.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Anyway, since you're going to be coding today, maybe you can't use your camera. Well, you can't use your whole screen anyway. I don't know how it works, because usually when people code, they disappear from the gallery. So once you start coding your screen, share your screen, then it'll just take over.
Okay.
Any other questions that people have? Do any doubts? Any conceptual clarifications needed? Please feel free to ask. Okay, so this is the time I can talk about before we start from class and start coding. This is the time when I can talk, help out with concept help and all. So please feel free to ask. And again, I also see that people are asking in the forums. Yeah, go ahead. Someone was speaking. Anyway, I see you guys also post in the forums and help other people in the forums, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so even if you've managed to complete all of the quests, it's really great to help out the junior students. In fact, I was very pleased to see that even my CS2C students are coming in to help out CS, you guys. So I saw some replies to your posts by my CS2C students. Also, they're helping out people asking in the green subreddit, so which is kind of cool. And hopefully you will help out other people in blue and green when you're doing your red quests. All of those count for participation points. So ultimately, the way that I think the grades will essentially be determined. The participation part of the grades will be determined by how well people are able to explain concepts to other people, because that is the best way to gauge how someone has understood something, is to see how they explain it to someone else. But wrong explanations are okay. But the important thing is, trying. You won't get penalized for wrong explanations. You may just get a message from me to delete it, or I might delete it myself, but no negative points for wrong explanations. Unless it's something that the other person will try and then quickly discover that there is another way to do it. So I'm not going to penalize wrong explanations. But certainly people who jump in and try to explain certainly have a belief, right? That's the most important thing, a belief that they know the answer. Because if you believe you know the answer and you're not willing to and you're not shy about sharing it outside, then it is a sign that you are really know the answer. Okay, so here's where I'm going with that. So what's the difference between people who know the answer or who think they know the answer but they don't know the answer? Actually, they believe they have the wrong answer. Okay, and people who actually really know the answer, right? So in my experience, what I've found is that people who really know the answer will be open about it. They'll put themselves out there and say, this is what it is, right? And the reason is, if it is not the real answer, they're open to open to people coming and saying, no, that's not the answer because of this reason. And they're willing to consider that reason and say, well, and change their own mindset or whatever it is, right? That means they actually know what they're talking about. And but however, there are lots of people who just go around well, they say they purportedly profess to say they know the answer, but they will not be open with it and not be not be open to the public and say, hey, this is what I know, right? And the reason they don't do that is because they're not sure that they know the answer. Okay, and most likely they're wrong, and then you'll see a lot of people basically not be helpful. And most of the time people are not helpful, not out of malice maybe or wanting you not to succeed. It's because they themselves don't know the answer. Because the natural tendency of most humans is to help. If you have the answer, it's not going to cost you anything, you're going to teach, right? That's a natural human tendency. You do that all the time to people around you at home, right? So, can't open a jar, you go and help them. And so it's a natural human tendency to do that. I think the major reason people don't do that is because they don't know, right? They don't know the answer, or they know the wrong answer, and they don't know if you know the wrong answer. If someone's going to come and ask you how do you explain that, you're going to falter and say, I don't know, right? So they try to not put themselves in the situation where they have to admit defeat or admit that they're wrong. And so the better way is to not even go to battle if you're not, I don't mean battle in the wrong way, but a battle of wits, right? The better way is to just stay safe, saying, I'm not going to enter this fray where I'm most likely going to be defeated anyway, because my ideas or my thoughts don't have legs. And that's one of the reasons why I found that people don't offer help. The other kind of help, I found when I was a kid and all is sometimes people don't help by just assuming blindly that you won't have the ability to understand it if they help, right? Whereas you may be a brilliant person, intelligent, able to understand it if it was just stated in a proper, precise way to you. But if someone says, well, here's what you need to do, and you don't quite understand it and ask questions, and they say, no, this is what you need to do, just do it. Okay, and then they sometimes they pull power and rank, and sometimes say, well, I'm older or I'm senior, I know better, do this without reason. That means that person doesn't actually know the reason. They are just faltering, or they think that, well, I know the reason, but that person is actually stupid. Even if I explain it to that person, they're not going to understand it. Why waste my breath and trying to explain it to them, right? So when someone says to you to do something without reason, they're either probably thinking that it is beyond your capacity to understand these things. You should just function in the capacity of a slave, or someone who's just what is that poem in English? Yours is not to reason why, but yours is but to do and die. What poem is this? I think it's Blow Bugle Blow by Alfred Tennyson, right? So you should look it up. So there's a line in there. This is, yours is not to reason why, yours is but to do and die. And that is a line from a poem that in that poem that is a line spoken by some war general to the troops saying, you don't ask for questions. You just do what you're told. You just have to do and die because that's your duty, right? Essentially treating them as fodder, not able to think clearly. And that kind of thing does not work in civilized society when we're not, fighting with each other, right? When we are interacting with people, you need to be, civil and respect the other person's intelligence. Because if you don't respect the other person's intelligence, then you're lacking in intelligence yourself. Then, it doesn't make any sense, right? So when you respect other people's intelligence, you're going to answer their questions. You're going to help them out with the prior assumption that that person is also a human being, which means they should be able to understand this, right? So the only reason someone would not be able to understand it, if they're weighed down by too many other constraints in their lives, right? So too many things they have to do in their lives, too many, the wrong decision of enrolling in too many credits, too many units, too many things to do, family problems, health problems, children, parents, there's so many things that can go wrong, all right? So those are okay. But when people basically blindly assume that you can't understand it, and therefore I'm not going to show you why or tell you the reason why, that person is actually, it's better not to get advice from that person, right? Because it's not going to be worth it. So, and that's why I actually like it very much when people out in class are helping other people, right? Or helping other people, and that is actually worth real participation points. And by the way, I got to tell you, right? Most of you, some of you who are active in the forums and helping other people out, right? With quests that you've already cleared, going back to help other people pass those quests, I know that these people actually understand the material, right? Because they are able to help, and they're putting themselves out there saying, if that person said I tried it, it didn't work, they know, right? This is the reason it didn't work, try this, right? So they're confident in their abilities and they're helping them, so they absolutely deserve participation points, right? Someone who does not help out other people in the forums or helps them out in secret chambers like Discord or Slack when other people cannot see you, right? So meaning that you could give wrong advice and you're safe, right? And this is one of my gripes with also teachers in community colleges, or any public educational institutions, right? Public educational institutions these days, there is no reason for an instructor, I think, to hide behind closed doors and teach behind closed doors when technology makes it possible to record and telecast that instruction for free practically. YouTube is free, everything is free. So technology makes it possible to make all instruction free to the whole world, and still when instructors are teaching behind closed doors, the tax-paying public there's no accountability for what they're teaching. They could be teaching complete bullshit behind closed doors, right? And I know this because some of you, not in your class, in a previous section, right? They've come and complained to me about instructors in computer science, right? Who are not teaching them really hard topics during the weeks that hard topics are supposed to be taught, and that week is being used up to talk about equity issues or racial issues, which the students should know anyway. It should not be part of class, and as a consequence, the entire hard topic has been skipped. And then when the student goes to ask the instructor for personal help about the hard topic, they found the instructor actually doesn't know it themselves. And so, teaching about equity and all these soft things, touchy-feely mommy-daddy things, which actually comes easy because it's really not real mommy-daddy things either, right? Touchy-feely in class is not like, saying, I'm going to pay your fees or drive you to the hospital, right? It's just saying you do this and you do that, right? Oh, I'm so sad it's going on like that. I empathize with you. That's not real empathy, right? When you actually feel sorry for someone, you're actually willing to put your money where your mouth is. So being touchy-feely in class is the easy way out for many instructors who actually don't know their material and incompetent. And they should teach behind closed doors because nobody can tell what the hell is going on. And because they're teaching about something that is a secondary mission of a college, right? Because education is a primary mission. Equity, equality, all of those are secondary missions, which are supposed to be layered on top of education. Education is a primary mission, and then equity makes sure that education is delivered in an equitable way to equal for everyone, right? So equity is a secondary mission. But because someone says, I'm going to make equity my primary mission in a hard CS2A class or CS2C class, and thereby skip out on teaching some really hard topics, which I myself don't understand, right? Then it doesn't set the stage for good quality instruction down the line, because it also sets a precedent and also gives them an excuse saying, well, I was actually doing something that's important to the college. Why are you asking me not to do that? No, well, education is the most important thing to the college. Everything else is also important, but it's supposed to be on top of education. You can't say, take, I'm going to teach bullshit. I'm going to teach bullshit in an equitable way, right? To everybody equally. So that makes no sense, right? You have to give power, which is real knowledge, to everyone equally. And right now, technology has made it possible for us to give it out equally to everyone in the world. Not just elite people in certain demographics, certain countries, certain societies that are able to pay for it and do these things. The technology makes it possible to just make it free for everyone. Why shouldn't we do that? Right? So the reasons are privacy and academic freedom. I don't buy into many of that. I'm not saying everybody should do it like that, but that's why I don't do it like that. Right? Everything I do is public, because I don't buy into this privacy and academic freedom when it actually infringes on the quality of stuff that you give to students. Then what is the need for people to be private? When they're teaching things, are they going to be teaching things that they don't know and embarrassed when other people find out? No, right? So that's why I think that education should actually be in the public, and everyone should be able to have access to these things, right? Because if you go to YouTube, you find hundreds and hundreds of videos, very good videos from all over the world, right? People are sharing the knowledge they have, and here in colleges and institutions that are funded by public money, right? So we are paid by taxpayer funds, right? We are paid with your taxes. And when there are people out there who are not even taking taxpayer money, their own money, their own time, and creating these instructive videos in the evenings, at night, in their own personal studios with their own dime, and putting it on YouTube for everybody's benefit, right? What is the reason for people that are actually funded by taxpayers not to do the same thing? So that, and so I think I will basically, maybe I'll start, maybe in a couple of, maybe after summer, I think I'll start a, scholarship, a free scholarship for any student, not student actually. So I'll do student scholarship separately. It's free fees to pay. I'll pay the fees for top students in 2B and 2C, selected by from pool or something like that, or draw. But I also want to create a system whereby eminent experts in the field that I know, right? I can bring them to enroll in math, hard classes, math and science, math and computer science, especially start with computer science, and they're experts in the field. But they can enroll in these classes because they're going to be paying fees. But in the process of being a student, they'll also evaluate the class and how it's going on, how it's being taught, and whether the instructors are actually up to snuff. They actually know the material. They go to office hours and ask them questions and find out, and they will submit a proper review of the class and instructors. And I'm pretty sure if I collect a whole bunch of these video reviews and make them available to the public, it'll be hugely useful for students, right? So and right now people go to Rate My Professors and all these crappy websites that only have hearsay evidence about, I go to this class and I got screwed. And most of the time people can just troll these websites. They create 10 different accounts, and just because one professor didn't give you points that you felt you needed, and you can basically go and trash that professor, right? On these public websites. You just create, even Reddit, right? I've had problems on Reddit when in the past students were unhappy with certain decisions made in the class. They just created a whole bunch of accounts and started polluting Reddit with complaints and some nonsensical posts. And so I had to delete that. That was the only person I actually had to delete from our forums. But there are people who do that. But this way, this will be not anonymous. This will be reputable people in the field that you can see the name and say, hey, that person is a well-known person. And that I know that person from news, right? Or from Google, or these people who have done really cool things, and they've gone and checked out this class, and that's a review of the instructor and the material they learned in that class, right? That will be hugely important for someone who wants to sign up and learn, right? So I think I can make that one aspect of the funding that I will do. And the other aspect is also going to be I'll award a stipend to instructors who are willing to teach their classes publicly, meaning all forum interactions and all classes just need to be recorded or live streamed and recorded on YouTube, so everybody can see what they're teaching, right? Maybe those people will be spared the anonymous evaluations of experts, but so it'll be a two-pronged offer, right? So for instructors to say teach in the open, and for experts in the field to say go and evaluate the people who are not teaching in the open. and they'll all be out there. And then people will have a much better idea of what the hell is going on with public money. So yeah, where I'm going with all that is that I'm actually very pleased to see a good culture emerge in our class, where people are not afraid to go and help other people, and basically help other people succeed with you. And I think that is the hallmark of any successful entrepreneur, is to say, when you go out and start a company later on, successful entrepreneurs will say, I want everybody to succeed in this team, and also users to have a good experience, right? But the unsuccessful entrepreneurs will basically say, I just want to make a name. The unsuccessful, not just entrepreneurs, right? Even in companies, even in institutions, public institutions, you can see these people, right? They're not focused on the mission, but they're focused on saving their own asses, or they're chasing a job title like VPs, directors, and managers and so on and so forth. They're just chasing job title, power, glory, and money, and they're just going after that. And you can see it's very clear, right? So you ask them questions, and you can tell from the responses whether they're really interested or invested in what they're doing, or they're just doing it for other reasons that are not really connected with the mission of the institution that is paying them. So those are things that hopefully technology will allow us to mitigate in future, because that culture I'm not seeing here in class, right? You guys are actually open and helping each other. The only request I have is don't help each other on closed forums like Reddit and Slack, right? On Discord and Slack. Help them out on Reddit, okay? These are going to be hugely useful to you later on, right? Not just participation points. Please do help other people in the forums, in Reddit, and you will see a double benefit. Okay, so thank you for that. So Anthony, whenever you're ready, you should just take the screen, and then what we'll do is we'll start coding as usual from the beginning. And yeah. Sure. Okay, great. One sec. Okay, just give me 1 sec. I need to look at something before I here. Okay. Awesome. All right. One of our certificates just got approved by the state, which is kind of cool. That's great. All right. So I'm sorry about that. Okay. So here's what we'll do today, Anthony, and thank you for sharing the screen. So what we'll do is we'll create a whole bunch of functions, and see what happens when we call these functions, and the way we pass parameters and all. Okay, so let's create one function here. Yeah, okay, so let's create a function. Here. Let's call, what do we call these functions? Oh, I also want to take this opportunity to introduce static variables inside of functions, right? Which will also play into static variables in classes later on, but we'll do that too today, right? So, well, and put the comments, or comments at the top saying class code for, what is it, 5th of May? Yeah, for 5th of May. Today we'll play with functions. Yeah, class code and 5th May. Yeah, today. With functions, and explore the following things, right? I don't know how to say properties, things. Okay, one, we'll say passing by value versus passing by reference. Two, we can also experiment with increment and decrement operators in the context, increment and plus and minus operators in the context, in function calls, plus and minus operators in function calls. What else do we need to do? Plus minus. Oh, static variables. Say static variables. And okay, well, I'm going to put this here. I don't know if we'll get to it, but if we get to it, it'll be really cool. Okay. Static variables. Do static variables. And then the fourth one, hopefully we'll get to this, is how to find out if the program stack grows up in memory or down in memory. Okay, and I'll explain what this means later on, right? When we get to that, I think it's an interesting thing. Okay, I think that should do, right? I think that should do. All right, so let's write the first function. And the first function can be, and yeah, let's put in using namespace standard also. So put using namespace standard. Yeah. All right. Okay. And the first function, what is it we're going to try and do? Passing by. All right. So you can call it parameter passing function or something like that, right? Call it function yeah, call it passed by value. Call it passing by value. Call it passing by value, and then we'll call it passing by reference and so on and so forth. Passing by value. Okay, and then let's make this a void function. Okay, so let's not make it return anything. Make it a void function. Hey, Anthony already knows to code. All right, so and then at the end, you will say let's let it take a parameter and say int n. Right, int n. Int n. Yeah. Okay. And now, yeah, space and curly brace. No. We'll actually define the function there too. Space and curly brace. Yeah. No semicolon. Space, curly brace, and then yeah, break it there. Now here, let's just say, yeah, do a cout right there. Cout the value of n on coming into the function is. And then you put the value of n there. Okay. Is everybody following, by the way? Okay. I know some of you are really cool and actually trying out the code simultaneously, because I know, last time, I think at least Tim was asked, hey, it didn't work for me. Okay, so it's really cool that you're also trying out the code at the same time. I'm going to switch classes, okay, because I changed the. Or maybe I can have the gallery here. And, give me one second. Oops, gallery. Where's the gallery view on my iPad? Oh, maybe I can't. I can't get gallery on my iPad. Oh well. Okay. All right. Okay, that's better. In fact. All right. Now let's go to our main. Hang on. Yeah, endl after that. And then do a plus n after on the next line. Thank you, Anthony. Yes, plus n, semicolon, and then copy the previous line and put it after that. Triple click. Yeah, actually, this is the easiest. Triple click and Command C. Yeah, all right, this one. Yeah, Command C, and then paste. Yeah, right before that. Okay. Well, if you had pasted it right before the curly brace where your cursor was before you moved it, it'll be in the right place. Okay, but you'll get a hang of it after practicing for a while. All right. So there, enter. We'll get it there. Why is it? Why is the indentation all screwed up? Is this VS Code? Yeah, it is VS Code. Why is the indentation screwed up? It's this is like to the left, whereas those guys are the lines above that are to the right, and this one is one step to the left. Push it. Yeah, there you go. And remove the blank line after that, because that's it. That's the function, right? Now you can either have an explicit return statement at the end, like where at the last line after that cout you can hit return. In fact, yeah, and say you can have an explicit return statement right there. Yeah, enter right there. Not there. After the cout, last cout. Yeah, hit enter. You can actually have an explicit return statement there. Return, return, right? But you'll find semicolon right there. And if you have a return semicolon, it's the same as returning void because it doesn't return anything, right? If you have return x, return n, return this value, then it's going to return that value. And that'll be reflected in the signature of the function. But if it's just a return with a semicolon, it just means that it's a void return. It doesn't return any object, anything, right? So sometimes you just say return. But you will find lots of programs in which programmers just leave out the return and void functions, right? Because the compiler will automatically fill it in for you. So you can put a comment in front of the return, comment out the return also, comment out the return in front also, right? Yeah. Oh, you got a full stop. Okay, and then at the end you can say this void return is actually optional. Yeah, okay, is optional. All right, so does it make sense for everybody? Now in main, let's create a variable called I, give it the value, I don't know, pick some value out of thin air. So you say, no, I think you have to indent by 4. Hit tab. No, one tab, just one tab. That's 4, isn't it? Is it 4 or 3? That's 4, right? So int I equals, I don't know, give it a value, any value you want. Yeah. And put spaces around the equals because it's just that one. Yeah, thank you. Semicolon at the end. All right. Now all we're going to do is just call our function and see what happens. Okay, just call our function, pass it the value of I, and see what happens. And then we'll talk about what is actually going on there and so on and so forth. We can talk about that, right? So in main, just call our function. In main, on the next line, you say passing by value I, right? Passing by value. Why is it not auto-completing for you, right? So it should, it's, as soon as you type up passing, it should basically auto-complete with a list of things you can call. So I don't know why that's not happening for you, right? Now, 1 needs to be within parentheses, by the way, right? No, I needs to be within parentheses, not 1. Is it I or 1? I can't tell. It is I, okay. All right. There you go. Okay, a semicolon after that. And usually I don't have a space between the function name and the parameter list, but it's up to you, right? And then at the end you can just say blank line and then return before the curly brace, blank line and return, and then indent it in. You have to hit the tab. Okay, now if you run it, before you run it though, just let's take let's take stock of what we think is going to happen, right? So anyone can say what the output is likely to be, right? Say what the likely output is likely to be, and then Anthony will run it and we'll see the output. And then we can have a quick discussion about this if necessary, if you need to know what's going on. Otherwise, we'll go on to do something else, okay? So can people tell me what the output is going to be? This is very simple, right? There's, not even a warm up here. So just take a chance and say what the output is going to be. Oh, by the way, we need to change the second cout out there. Coming into the function, it should say, instead of coming into the function, it should say leaving the function, right? Because coming into the function it was n, leaving the function it's second one. Instead of coming into, change the coming into to leaving the, right? Change coming into to leaving or exiting, right? So I think that makes more sense. All right. So if you run it now, what is it going to print? Oh, I can see the screen here much better on my iPad. Oh, I can even see.
Print 3 and 4.
Yes, it's going to print. Was it Michael? Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically going to print the value of n coming in is 3, and the value of n leaving the function is 4. Yes.
Yep.
So run it. Oh, you actually did run it already? Yeah, right. Can you run it, Anthony? And you need to click to, I think you need to click the output screen there. Oh, what's going on here? You need to save.
Professor.
Oh, is there, it says there's an error. There's something missing here.
Professor.
Oh, yeah. So the main has to return a value. Say return 0.
Sorry, may I ask something?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. You should just ask, okay? Don't ask for permission.
Yeah, sorry. There's sorry, I'm doing this in Xcode, and there's something going on with line 23. It's when I put in int I -3, it wants me to put to end it with the usual semicolon.
On line 23, int I equals 3.
Yeah, I minus 3. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
you
saying
gotta
that
get better glasses,
it's
Jaden.
yeah, I'm getting an expected error.
Yeah, you gotta get glasses. It's not an equals. It's not a minus, it's an equals.
Oh, it's an equals? Okay.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
is your coding window also minimized like this for me? Because my coding window is so small that I can't see all the characters clearly, right? So that's why I switched glasses to. Yeah, if you change it to equals, it'll work. Okay, but yeah, there you go. So the value of n coming in is 3 and 4. All right, so we want to do one more thing here. Okay, now in your main method, right? Int I equals 3, right? So hit enter after that. One more enter. Now copy that, triple click on line 15. Triple click on line 15. Copy that. Yeah, Command C or Control C, and then go to the beginning of the line before, not there, just on line 25, beginning of line 25. Paste it. Now here, why the indentation is screwed up again? Something to do with VS Code. Indent see out in tab in front of it. Okay, all right, so that works. Here, the value of I before calling the function is, right? So the value of I before calling the function. Oh, you've done that? I know, coming into the function, no, but the value of I before calling the function, before calling our function, before calling the function, yeah, before. And then copy that and put it after calling the function also. Oh no, you already have, yeah, get rid of the function is. The function, yeah, get rid of those two words. And then copy that line, copy that, yeah, and put it after also. No, after you call the function. Yeah, triple click, delete, and triple click Control X, and then yeah, go to the line after the calling function, line 28, right? Yeah, paste it there. All right, and then you can actually join up the, yeah, you can take the blank line out from line 26 can go because these three are together. All right, now if you run it, now what do you expect to see? Come on, right? So maybe not Michael this time. Someone else? Take a guess.
Yeah, they should be the same.
It should be the same. So it should say value of I before calling a function is 3, and then the value of I after calling our function is 3 also. Is that what it should say? Yeah, yes. Hasanta is nodding his head. Who else?
I think it will be 4 because the plus is before the end, so it calls the addition before the yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael. Even though you may know the answer already, thank you for saying that.
Because it's passed by value, I think it both will be 3.
You want to try? You want to try it now? You want to try it? We can see what goes on. Okay, so it's very good. I like it that you're trying to take these guesses and checking things out. All right, so oh, sorry, there's something funky with the comments. Why is the third comment saying the value of n leaving the function is 4 coming into the function? Oh yeah, that's it is correct. It is correct. Yeah, all right. It doesn't make sense. I can't see clearly. All right, so I'm so sorry. Maybe. Oh, I can see it here. Jeez. Okay. All right. So is this clear? Does anybody have any questions about why we see what we see? Before you call the function, it is 3, right? And then inside the function, it has been in 3 and then incremented to 4. After you exit the function, value of I is 3 again. Now, is everybody clear on exactly what happened there? Put it in the context of our discussion last class. What happened there was I equals 3 is a local variable in main. Yes, it's a local variable in main. Therefore, that local variable lives on the stack. And then when this other function was called, this whole main frame, right, the stack frame for main is now put into cryo, right? It's frozen and it is pushed down into stack. It becomes inaccessible. It is frozen. It can't be changed anymore. And so the new stack frame on top is only the stack frame that is relevant to the function that is currently being executed, right? So in there, things happen. And when that function returns, that stack frame is going to be taken and popped and thrown away. And the new stack frame now is what was before, what was there underneath it, with the value I equals 3, and that's come back. So that is the whole, dance that got played out there. So is everybody okay with this? Now, if we can try one more thing, right? We can try one more thing here. And but if everybody's okay with this, we can try one more thing. Okay, just tell me. Now, what we want to do is change the signature of that function to say, instead of int n, you want to pass n by reference. Okay, so in fact, what we'll do is leave that function like that. Copy the whole function. Right? Yeah. No, I think you need you can copy it, right? And let's create another function right underneath. Yeah, and then call this passing by reference, right? Call this passing by reference. Okay, and then at the end, just close it. Right? By the way, close it first. Close the function, right? Close the function. Yeah, there. Okay, now int n should be changed. If it's passed by reference, it should be changed to int space ampersand n, right? Ampersand before the n says that n is not a copy. It is the original. Okay, now go to your main. And then change the comment, calling our pass by value function, right? Change that before calling our pass by value function, right? Pass by value function is not that. The cout statement. When you say before calling our pass by value function, we want to qualify what that function is. Pass by value function, right? Yeah, you got function already, and then put the same thing on the next one also. And passed by is 2 words, but that's fine. Yeah. Great. Now copy those 3 lines. And then paste them again after a blank line. Right? Paste them again after a blank line. Yeah, paste it. Fix the indentation. And now here we want to call the function pass by reference, right? So change everything to pass by reference, even the cout statements. Okay, all right. Now, now if you want to run it, now, you'll see what Changwen described. Is that now because this function is passing by a reference, you will see that the value of I changed, right? So even though I is a local variable on the stack, incredible, isn't it? It's a local variable on the stack, which means that the stack does not technically allow you to access that variable. However, even though it's buried in an underground stack frame, right? This function is still able to change that value. How is it possible? The compiler takes care of all that, right? It will make sure that the address of that variable, even though it's on the stack, the address of that variable is passed, and that whatever modifications happen to the original. Okay, so even though it's on the stack, that it can happen. So is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's try one more thing here. What we want to do is we'll pass by a value and a reference. We've covered already. I have to think of more things to talk about functions. Well, I'm pretty sure we'll come up with interesting experiments to try. Oh yeah, we actually did have that interesting thing up there. Okay, all right. So what is it? Yeah, statics. Okay, all right. So here's what I want to do. So so create another function under passing by reference, right? And let's call this function a function with static variable, right? So yeah, blank line before you do that, blank line, yeah. And then say in a no, you can call the name of the function void, just like the previous one, right? Void function with static variable, in lowercase f, because it's a function name. It will follow the same convention. Function with static variable, right? And then you can say, actually, you don't even need parameters here, right? Let's not. And then the open close. By the way, a function that does not take any parameters, unlike in maybe in Python, I don't know, right? Some languages, you still needs these open and close. Okay, now open, and now you can open the brace, space and open brace. Yeah, put a space before the brace too, and yeah, cool. Right now, here is what we want to do. So okay, here's what we'll do. Okay, so say int I equals int well, I, j, k, and pick any variable you like. Int I and yeah, k, yeah, cool. K equals 0. Yeah, semicolon. Now let's put a while loop there, saying a while k plus plus. Oh, I see. You need the condition within parentheses. Sorry. K plus plus is less than 10. K plus plus is less than 10. Or less than 3, right? Less than 3, whatever. Pick a number. Okay. Right. So yeah, on the next line, you say cout indent in. Why is your VS Code is not automatically indenting while loops? So that's funny. Four spaces. Yeah, hit a tab. Not no, yeah. Yeah. So within quotes, you say k equals space, and then k and L. Right now, let's go to main and call that function at the end, right? In fact, what you can do is comment out the previous, lines 37 to 43. You can just comment for 43. You can comment out because we're done with that experiment, right? So now it's a new experiment. You can just comment it out. Can you comment out a block? You can so. Oh, here's an easy way to do it. Okay, don't do it that way. Go to the line before the cout. Hit enter. Right now, indent in. Now say / and then a star. Right on the next line, get rid of the common characters you introduced. The cout can still be there, like it will preserve the integrity. And then at the end, you close the block. Right. So go to line 45. Yeah, indent in and a star. Yeah, that. Yes, a / and then enter. Okay. Right. So that's been commented out. Now a blank line there. And then here you can say call the function blank line, blank line, and then enter. I think one more space you need for no, not if you tab. Why is your tab ending by 3 spaces? Your settings in VS Code need to be changed, I think, right? Unless you like 3 spaces and you're doing, but it doesn't explain why your return is 4 spaces. One more, I think you need to indent by 1 more space. No. I'm sorry, not 1 more blank line, right? You just need 1 blank line after the, there you go. And then 1 more space 1 more space to the right. Yeah, there you go. Right, now you can call a function with static variable. Function with static variable. Yeah. Hey, you got the autocomplete now. So previously you didn't get the autocomplete, right? You had to type in the whole thing, and now you actually got the autocomplete. So maybe your computer is just slow, and yeah, it's possible that it's slow, right? All right, no, just call this function. You call this function, meaning you put a open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon, right? That's a function call, right? Semicolon. Now call this function 1 more time. Just triple click on the line, put it on the next line too. Call it 1 more time. Okay, now here's the thing, right? You get rid of one of the blank lines after that. Right, now if you compile and run this, what is going to happen, right? Now, by the way, in fact, you know what? I shouldn't confuse people that are watching the video. Can you, I'm sorry, Anthony, can you please get rid of the word static in function with static variable on line 28, get rid of a function with internal function with local variable. Change the word static to local, right? A local variable. Okay, and then change the name here also. Yeah, change the name here also. Function with local. All right. So now let's take a guess, everybody. Right? When Anthony runs it, what are we likely to see? Come on, guys, take a guess. What are we likely to see when he runs it?
He will increment by 1 till
No, function with local variable. It's not incrementing, right? This is a different function. That function is, the function we're talking about now is between lines 28 and 32.
It should print out 1 through 10 2 times.
Okay. Anybody else with any other answers or anything else they want to say? Kiki, welcome to class. Anybody else with other guesses, or shall we just run it and see what happens? You should feel bold, okay? Feel bold. There's nothing wrong can happen just by speaking out, okay? So
just out of curiosity, it might pick a number between 1 and 10.
Was that Anthony?
Yeah.
So no, actually, no, it won't pick a number between 1 and 10. Because when it calls function with local variable, it's going to run your function, right? The function you created on line 28. And in that function, it will do whatever that function does. And in that function, you're printing out 10 lines, right? K equals 1, K equals 2, and K equals 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Or 1, 2, 3 in this case, right? In fact, that's another interesting thing that you can, it's unrelated to functions, but it's an interesting thing that you should know for your midterm is what will actually happen. What is the first K equals going to be, right? The first line is going to be, is it going to be K equals 0 or K equals 1? Right, so I'll tell you, because you haven't played around a lot with the increment operators. So the first line is going to be K equals 1, and the last line is going to be K equals 10. Is it? Yeah, no, yeah, the last line is going to be K equals 10. Okay, now in your midterm, you may have a loop like this. And a question that says, what is the value of K after the loop exits, right? And you have to run it in your head. So here's a way you can actually see what happens, and then you can, simulate this in your head later on. So what Tim said is going to happen, and then we can talk about, why that is if necessary. Okay, so if you run it, you'll see the output. Okay, there you go. So it's exactly what Tim said. It prints lines. Why is it starting at K equals 6? That's funny. Why is it starting at K equals 6? Something funky going on there. Why? And by the way, something is wrong here because you commented out the value of n and all those things, right? And it's still running those. You commented out the first 2 functions, right? You're not calling those functions in main. Not there, not there. No, no, no. You leave those behind. In main, you're not calling those functions, right? You're not calling those functions, and yet when you run it, it seems to be calling those functions. What's going on? So maybe you should run it again. So compile and run it again. Why? No, all right. So something weird. This is the answer, right? So this is the last run, I think. Yeah, increase the much bigger. Maybe I think we're missing lines at the bottom, right? Increase the size of the console more.
Yeah.
So we get the whole output. No, the console, the output. So we can see the whole output. Okay, so this again, it's really funny. Why do we see 9, 10, and then 1, 2? It's missing out a whole bunch of lines. It's not. It's okay.
I think it's getting cut off by the previous run term. Previous ones with the values.
So it's really strange. It shouldn't get cut off like this. Okay, now it's printing 1 to 10, 1 to 10 2 times, right? However, in some situations, we have a need for a variable to retain its value across multiple invocations of the same function. This is crazy, isn't it? Because when a function is entered, a stack frame is created, all its local variables are stored in the stack, and when the function exits, that stack frame is going to be discarded. So all the local variables are gone. Yes or no? Yes or no, right? So every variable you use is in a stack frame that's on top of the stack. When the function you use returns, that stack frame is taken and thrown away. Everything in it is gone. So now, so I'm asking, well, you know what, even though it's gone, when I call the function again, I wanted to remember what that variable was. So that, you know, I want to retain the value of a variable in a function across function calls. How is it possible? Because all the variables are on a stack frame, and stack frame is gone. Right? Now, C++ gives you a way to do that. Well, actually, C gives you a way. Right? C++, you can do it much nicer by promoting the static variable into a class and all. Even in C, a long time ago, this was possible by basically tagging a variable name with the word static. So if you go to the function that you had, right? And go to the go to the function again. You can reduce the size of the. Yeah, okay. Now let's create another function here. Copy that function, and copy that function, and then create another function that goes, and you can call this function a function with static variable, right? With static variable, not local, static. And then the int k equals 0, turn that into a static int k equals 0. And put a blank line after that, because usually, even though the functions are small, sometimes it is helpful to separate the declaration from the logic part, because when when you're high-speed debugging, it helps to have these things chunked out nicely, so your eye can basically just scan at 100 miles per hour, right? Otherwise, you have to stop to say, well, which line should I, where the logic starts and so on. Even those milliseconds breaks, you'll find it's really, really annoying when you're doing high-speed programming. So that's why these things help. Okay, now close the function at the end. Okay, right? Now go to your main, and instead of calling function with local variable, let's call function with static variable 2 times. Now this is a very important property that can be exploited a lot, okay? Especially when we talk about objects and static properties of objects. This will come in hugely useful. So that's why it's important to try this out and see what's going on. Okay. So now if you run it, you'll see something interesting. Okay, something that is different from what you had got before. So if you run it, no, something is. Did you call it 2 times? By the way, no, go back to your main. I want to make sure. Did you call both of in your main? Okay, function with static variables and static variable, and it's a static int k equals 0. Yeah, okay. So compile and run it. Compile and run it. Sure, if it's compiling and running, where is? And it's only printing it once. You're calling it 2 times, right? You're calling it 2 times, but it's running it only once.
I thought it's something like, yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, because I do have it to where it's in there twice.
Yeah, compile and maybe you have to compile and run or something, build and run.
Isn't that
Not
correct? Running it only once because the k value is static, then the while loop only executes once.
Yes. No, it has to, but you're calling the function 2 times, right? You call the first time you call the function, it should print 10 lines, right?
Oh, I see.
And the second time it should print 10 more lines. Why is it not printing the 10 more lines? It should print 20 lines in all. So we can run it by hand, okay? Maybe VS Code is doing some freaky things here. So if you go to the
But like he's saying, the second time you run it, won't it be greater than 10? So the while loop won't even run?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I totally forgot that. Thank you so much. Who said that? Tim?
Yeah.
Was it Tim? Geez, okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's why I didn't run. All right. So how do we make this? How do we make this better? We want to retain a value. So, all right. So here, let's go to the while loop. Let's go to that while loop in there. Okay. And then 20 is not going to help. So turn that back into a 10. Turn that back into a 10. And here, and then put a space curly brace. Space curly brace. Okay.
So actually, I have a question. Why isn't it running twice? Because when you call the static variable, doesn't it set k back to 0?
No, it's very good question. Okay, so if you tag a variable with static, the compiler will make sure that the variable is not on stack, it's located elsewhere, and it's only initialized one time, the very first time the function is called. And that's not obvious, right? And I've also been confused by that when I was first learning C actually, that I have a declaration here where it should be initialized every single time, and that's not the case. When you have a static variable, it's initialized only once when the program starts. In fact, static variables are initialized when the program starts because they're not even on the stack. They're out there. So yeah, it's a very good observation, and it's a very important observation, right? And to help us. So yes. So now get rid of the closing brace. Just have the opening brace. Now inside of the and then put the closing brace after the cout so that the while loop has a body. No, not there, not there. At the after the cout statement. After the cout statement, you have to get rid of it from there. Yeah, and put it after the cout, and then close the function also. Close the function also. One more. Yeah, there you go. Now inside the while loop on line 28. Oh no, it was 38. Line 38. Say if k is greater than 5, geez, I can't. No, it's going to be hit every single time. All right, we won't do a loop, okay? We're just going to do, we won't do a loop. All right, so we're going to say, get rid of that loop, all right? We'll just do something very simple so it's clearer, okay? Get rid of the loop while all three lines. Yeah, okay. Now you just say cout k equals, right? Just say blank line there because it's still logic and not the declaration part. Cout, left shift, and then k equals and the value of k. Is that equals or minus? It is. I can see why Jaden was confused. All right, equals and then k and then endl, right? And that's it, right? Oh yeah, plus k, right? Plus k. Oh, you want to put it there? That's fine. You can put the plus on the next line. Put the for now, and we'll play around with the plus also, right? Put the k plus on the next line. Okay, semicolon. Now, if you run it 2 times, you'll actually see the effect that a kind of effect that I was expecting. Tim pointed out a very important point. Okay, there you go. So the first time it was 0, the second time it was 1. If you call it again, it's going to print 2 because I has changed, and even though the function exited, it remembered the value of the of I after it changed. Does that make sense? It's actually a very powerful property because it lets functions keep state. And so main doesn't have to worry about the state. The function worries about the state, but still the function is responsible for it, and it'll keep it between invocations. Now, keeping state in a function is a bad idea, bad practice, because when functions are stateful, the technical word for it is idempotent. Okay, idempotent. Idempotent means equally potent, no matter, equally powerful. Potent means powerful, right? Comes from Latin. So idempotent means the function is equally powerful no matter how many times you call it. Meaning that if you call it any number of times, the behavior is going to be exactly the same. That's an idempotent function. Now, idempotent functions, all the building blocks, okay? They are the building blocks of all great computer science that's out there. Because imagine if you had to build a building and then you had bricks. If you told the architect, here's 10,000 bricks, or 100,000 bricks, go and build this tower for me, and then he or she says, well, or the bricks all the same shape, right? So if you say, yes, they're all the same shape, then they can go and geometrically model it out and then come and build your building, right? But if you tell them, no, the bricks are all different shapes, right? One brick is like this and another brick is like that, they can't design a building. Yes, because they're all different. Yes or no? So in order for the architect to build the big structure, they need some guarantees that the stuff that they're going to work with is not going to change. It's all idempotent. That's, they're all the same. No matter how many bricks I use, they're all exactly the same. So that is a powerful thing, isn't it? Is that powerful or not for building higher level stuff? Right? In rare cases, in extremely rare cases, there are situations when you delegate something to a brick, but the next time you use a brick, it should be slightly different. Right? So, so you want to call a function, but the second time I call it, it should do something else. But I don't want to be worried about how it does it. Every time it needs to maintain the state itself. So those functions are not called idempotent functions, right? They're not idempotent functions. And so they have their place. But if people use non-idempotent functions everywhere, willy-nilly, that program is doomed to fail. So it's an important and powerful feature, but that should only be used by people who know how to use it in proper ways. So, but it's important to know that this is an idempotent function, and it will, no matter how many times you call it, it's going to do the same thing. So it's predictable. That's why humans love predictability, and idempotent means predictable. And if something is not predictable, then we have uneasiness, right? So uncertainty is always makes us uneasy, right? Because we don't know what the hell is going to happen. We have to be prepared for two things instead of one thing. And because intrinsically, all creatures, all humans, right, are lazy, right? They're lazy. We want math too, right? We're lazy. We don't want to bother our minds with too many possibilities, right? We want everything to be predictable so that we can just be sitting and doing our own thing. Right? So we want to say, I want to make as many things around me predictable as possible. So idempotent functions are predictable, meaning that you are now free to use your entire mind to think about the high-level task of building a superstructure and not have to worry about the individual bits, right? So this is the same mindset that will now start characterizing what we do from next week onwards, which is talking about objects, right? Objects basically takes that mindset to encapsulation and saying, here's an object that will contain things, right? It will behave in predictable ways, but it also contains things that will maintain state, right? So it allows you to encapsulate these things very nicely. That's what we'll look at next class onwards, okay? So now, as far as static variable goes, is everybody clear on what happens? Yeah? Okay, now here's one other thing. Now, what we'll do is, let's go to the function with static variable, right? Actually, you know what? I wanted to make a const. Let's go to the. You can comment out the. Let's go back to our function with calling by reference and calling by parameter, right? Calling by the previous two. You can get rid of the blank line in here. Get rid of. So go back to the old functions, the two old functions you had. I know in the declarations. Okay, where you have calling by reference, right? Calling by reference. Okay, there you say const in front of the int, right? Const in front of the int. Const int. Const int. Okay, now what that means is that I'm going to pass you the original. However, I am concerned that you may change it because it's sensitive data, which is only for looking and not for changing. Yes? So sometimes you may have, for example, you have a big movie file that you want to pass to a function, an MPEG-4 file. And that function has to analyze the MPEG-4 and count the number of frames and return or something like that, right? So in that case, it's not feasible for you to copy the whole thing and send them a copy saying, well, you do what you want, destroy it if you want, I just want the number, right? It's hugely wasteful, right? Why would you want to copy 5 gigabytes of data and send it to that place where they're going to only look at it essentially, and so it's a waste. So you say, I'm going to pass you the original movie for you to look at and do things, but I want to be double sure that you don't change it, so I'm going to tag it with const, right? So if you now compile this program, it'll refuse to compile. You'll have an error that says you're trying to change a constant parameter in this function. Okay, so does it say that? Hey, Anthony, I think there's some issue with your VS Code. No, you shouldn't do it now, but I think your VS Code setup has got some issues you need to, unfortunately, I don't know how to fix it because I'm not a VS Code user, but hopefully you'll get to the bottom of this because.
I might know, Anthony, if you go to the arrow on the top right with the bug on it, you know how there's a little arrow next to it, a drop down menu? Put run code. And then that should be on your output.
Oh, okay. What were we doing before?
I don't know. For me, it sometimes it does the same thing. It's
Oh, he was
like
clicking to
debug
run.
it and run it.
I see. Okay,
But now
all right,
you can
let's do
just
it like
press the
Juan
arrow.
says. Thanks, Juan. Okay, so there you go. It says, where are you? Yeah, it says no such file directory 5.cpp. What the hell is going on? Whoa, why is it trying to compile 5.cpp?
Oh, press the arrow to run it again.
Why is it trying to compile 5.cpp?
Switch to terminal.
Mm-hmm.
So switch to the terminal again. I want to see something, right? So we can just do it. What compilation command did it use? We can just compile things by hand. Can you just type G++ and hit enter right there? G++ and hit enter. Oh, good. You actually have G++ on this machine. Okay, do a dir and hit enter. dir, enter. I'm sorry, you clear the screen. Hit CLS, clear the screen. CLS to clear the screen. Right. So I want to locate the source file for this machine. Now, what is this file called? What is the file called? Hang on. Oh, there you go. Yeah, mouse over. It'll tell you where the file is. Oh, here. I can't see it here. All right. So Anthony. Oh, it is called. What is that? I need to increase the font. Oh no, I'll just zoom up here. Hang on. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. You call your file classwork space may5.cpp, right? And the spaces don't work well with spaces and file names don't work well. So let's change the name of the file. So go back to your, just call it code, call it something else. Call it classcode.cpp, one word, classcode.cpp. Okay. All right. I think that should work. Now, if you compile and run it, did it get classcode.cpp? Yes, that's the error message I wanted to see. Okay, so it's actually working. All right, now you see that error. It says you're trying to change a variable, but that variable was passed by reference, which means it is the original, not your copy. However, when they passed you the original, they also said don't change it by tagging it with const, and you're trying to change it. And so the compiler says, I won't turn this code into binary for you. Right? I refuse to translate it into executable code because the programmer did not want it to run like this. Does that make sense? So you can pass things by reference to save you a whole lot of copying time. If you're confident that that function is not going to change the value. However, if you want to be double sure and protect yourself, you can say const reference. Okay, so you'll pass by reference, but they can't change it. Does that make sense? It is again, it's a very powerful feature to know. Yeah. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, let's try one more experiment with something else, right? One more experiment with something else, and what we want to do is go to line 39 and hit enter. Line 39 and hit enter. And then get rid of the const. We put a const somewhere, right? Get rid of the const thing. Yeah. Because otherwise it won't compile, right? So now we'll put it back. All right. So let's create one more function here. Enter. Yeah. Is this a new function?
Yeah, I still had the other one copied.
Yeah. Okay. So a blank line before that and blank line after that, and close the function body. Close the function body, and then we'll change the function also. Close the body. Now, so a function that prints out the variable. Okay, just say function function printing variable, right? Function printing variable. Call it function printing variable. And then let it take a parameter by copy, right? So int m. Right? And then here, you're just going to say cout n. Cout value of n is n. And no while or anything. We'll just say cout value of n is. You don't need a while statement. Yeah, and then k, change the k to an n. All right, now in your main, comment out, now get rid of line 57 and take the line 57, whatever that line, include these two lines also inside the comment. Basically, get rid of that line, also the blank line, and then, get rid of the blank line. Yeah, all right, that's fine. And go to the end of line 60. Yeah, there, indent in, and then star. And now all of that has been commented out, right? Now enter a couple of times. Now here, what we're going to do is say int. Oh, you actually have I right there. So let's say we'll call our function function printing variable. Function printing variable. Yeah, one space more on the left. No, one space more on the left. It's right. And then the parameter we're going to pass is n, was it I plus plus, okay, I plus plus. Okay, now, and let's also copy, copy line, what is it, 54, and put it before this function call. Yeah, blank line before that too, so that we separate it out from the comment block, right? And then copy the other one also, copy the other one, 56, and put it after. And change calling our printing variable function, right? So it's a different function, printing variable function. Okay. All right. So if you run it now, oh no, 1 sec. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's good, right? So if you run it now, what before you run it, let's take a guess again, right? What do you guys think is the output is going to be? Yeah. So again, we can take guesses, blind guesses here. Everything is okay. Just say what you think the output is going to be.
3.
So it's going to print 3 lines, right? It's going to print 3 lines. Okay. The value of I before calling, and then it's going to call the function, and it's going to print something in there, and then it's going to print 3 lines. So what are those 3 lines going to be?
The first line is 3, the second line is 3, and the last line should be 4.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Michael. So do we have any other guesses before we run it? No? Nobody else wants to take a stab?
I just have a comment. Instead of doing the multi-line comment, VS Code, you can just control / which is always a nice.
Oh, it does that? Control
shortcut.
/ will basically.
Yeah.
And then does control / also remove the comments like that?
Yes.
Uncomment?
So it's
Okay, good.
that's a nice function.
That's nice. Okay. I was thinking about doing that. But I remembered suddenly that there was another ID I used where the hotkey for inserting all those things was 1, right? So control something, and it'll put control character and put all the / in front, comment the code out. But when it came time to uncommenting these things, there was no hotkey, and I had to manually uncomment everything. And so then I thought, okay, well, that's not going to cut it. So let's just do this block comment, so it's easier for us to uncomment later on. So thank you. So it's control / I'll remember that. Okay. So now, if we run this, we will see the behavior that Michael described, because nobody else is taking a stab at it, right? So. Where's it going? Yeah, oh, plus n. It's not compiling. Do you still have the const in there somewhere? No.
I had that same problem in the function where we passed a constant. Yeah, it tries to increment it and it can't do that.
Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, but you got
It's
rid
not
of it.
constant. It's not constant, right? Hey, Anthony, did you save the file? I'm thinking maybe you're not saving the file before. Did you save it? Control S, and then build and run it.
We should delete the constant.
Yeah. I think that's what happened before also, right? I think you forgot to save the file, and it didn't. I'm surprised that it doesn't automatically save the file when you hit the run button. All right. So the value.
It's showcasing that there is one problem within the code.
Where? I don't see it. Where does it say there's a problem in the code?
It's saying line 23 somewhere. Yeah, plus
Yeah, there it is.
plus n right there.
Oh, how come the const made it back? I thought we got rid of the const, the const keyword. Line 23. Go to line 23. There, I still see it. Line 21. Line 21.
So it's
21.
showing up in a separate file. That's
Yeah, you
why.
have two files open.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So it's just being a little funky on
No. It's because when he renamed the file, I think it created a copy of the file instead of renaming the existing file.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have only this, right? We should only have class code.cpp.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3, 4. Okay. Now is everybody able to play this out in their heads? Now the important thing, I think that's happening in today's class is that even though all our functions are like 3 lines and 4 lines and so on and so forth, there's a lot of things happening in the process of calling the function and coming back that you need to basically understand in the context of what we talked about last class. The whole function execution cycle. So you should see that happening. You should see that playing out in your head. Okay. So in this case, what happened was, it printed the value, then it did the plus. It printed 3, right? Inside the function. Now, what you want to try and experiment is turn that plus k into a k plus plus. Okay. So go back to your function call now. To your main, right? To your main, and where you say I plus plus, you say plus I, right? Plus I. Instead of I plus plus, you say plus I. So these are questions that could potentially be asked in the midterm. Okay. So and that's why I want to go over this like this. So if you run it now, what are you likely to see, right? Someone other than Michael should tell me the answer. So if you run this now,
could it be 3, 4, and 4?
All right, Hasanta has Adam. Adam has one guess out here. Who else wants to take a chance and say it could be the same, right? You can say yes, it's the same as what Adam said, right? So that's fine. Or you could say no, it's going to print 3, 3, 4, something else. Everything is fine. Okay, you just want to take guesses.
Yeah, it probably could be. I think this is just probably a more consistent way to turn that 3 into a 4, perhaps after the pass by.
I'm sorry, Jaden, I didn't understand what you were trying to say.
Is this like more of a consistent way to make the pass by from 3 to make the transition from 3 to 4? Like we're doing how we're building this function, printing the variable?
No, that function is just printing the variable that's given to it. That's all, right? Okay. That function is not doing anything to the variable. It's just printing it out. Yes? So it's just printing whatever it's given. So what will it print in this case?
I'll guess 3, 4, 3.
4, 4. Did you say 4, 4, 3?
3, 4, 3.
3, 4, 3. So Changwen is saying 3, 4, 3. Adam said 3, 4, 4. Any other guesses?
Decided it might stay the same and just be 3, 3, 4.
Okay, all right. So this is all great, okay? And I know that some of you are deliberately, even though you know the right answer, you're saying the wrong answer just for the sake of conversation and making a point so other students understand. So I greatly appreciate that that some of you who know the answer are deliberately saying what needs to be said incorrectly. So thank you all for that. All right, so let's run it now and see what is going to happen. No, that's not that's not what what did we have in our function call? Did we have plus plus or? Yeah,
At least-
so I think it didn't compile. Did you save it? Did you save it?
Yes.
Right, run it now. There you go. Okay, this is what Adam said, and the reason you see different number here is because the plus plus is a very important operator. Whether it goes in front of a variable or after the variable is significant. If it goes in front of the variable, it's going to be incremented before anything else on that line happens. Okay, if it goes after, it's going to hold on to the variable, take the existing value, send it to the function, or do whatever the expression is required to do, right? Calculate that, and then before it goes to the next line, it increments it. Okay, so these are called the pre-increment and the post-increment. Same thing with minus minus also. Okay, so if we do minus minus also, you'll see the same thing. And these are the kinds of, so you can try with minus minus in your own time, and because you may have a question using minus minus in the midterm next week. So does this make sense? Okay, all right. So what else did we want to do today? All right. So now, before there are two ways. What time is it now? Right? Because I also want to give you guys time. We have a half hour left, right? So I want to give you at least 15 minutes of time to play around with the code and try some experiments. Like, so I suppose I give you 15 minutes. Okay, not right now. After I want to do one more thing. Okay, and after that, hopefully we'll have 15 minutes left at least. Okay, so in that 15 minutes, suppose I give you those 15 minutes. Are you guys comfortable enough to basically just come up with ideas like we did, right? Saying, hey, what can we write a function that takes a plus plus, a reference and so on? I want to see what happens now. Can we try this? They should all be 2 or 3 line functions. Okay, and either you call out the code and Anthony types, or Anthony himself comes up with ideas to type. But you guys should basically say, I want to try this. I want to try this. And then you had to schedule it, of course, because Anthony can't be typing everything at the same time. They say, well, and he'll say, well, let's first try Jaden's function, all right? Then Adam's function, then Kiki's, and so on and so forth. You get to try all these things. After I do the next small spiel, right, about stacks and things like that, you'll get an opportunity to try. Will you guys like that? 15 minutes of time before the end of class, where you can basically just dive in and experiment like we've been doing experimenting now, because what you are experimenting on the keyboard and computer right now is exactly what you're going to be doing next week on Thursday, but in your head. Okay, because in your midterm you're going to have questions like this involving functions, and in order to answer those questions, you need to construct these functions in your head and run them and find the answer. And right, you won't have time to run it on IDE and come back and do these things. Okay, so in order to be totally comfortable with that, you first need to be able to do it on a computer, right? If you've never done it on a computer, how can you do it in your head? So do you want 15 minutes after in about 10 minutes, right? Do you want 15 minutes of time to essentially play around with more functions like this? Yes or no? On your own, right? So Tim could say, I want to try this function, right? Who on? So people will basically just say, I want to try this. Can we try this little function? And then call it in main and see what. And if it doesn't compile or break, I'm just here. You can say, hey, what's going on? And I'll try and quickly tell you that's the syntax error. You can fix it, okay? Because sometimes you may have VS Code throw lots and lots of junk at you, and you don't know what the hell is going on. Just call me rather than try to decipher it in 15 minutes, right? And I'll say, well, you need to fix that. So I'll be there on standby to help you, but I will give you 15 minutes to play around if you think it'll be useful at the end. Not right now. Yes or no? Just raise your hand if you would like 15 minutes to play around, right? I'm going to be in the background. Don't worry. Okay. Just, do you want to do that? Or just, just me talking on and on with, kind of code, relying on Anthony to, do things until the end of class. What do you want? Just tell me. Because I'm mindful also of constantly talking, and I'm just coding all the time, right? And you guys should be coding too. This is computer science. This is your class, and you are the ones who should be coding. So let me know. All right, think about it. We'll do this next idea that I have in my head, okay? And then we'll come back, and hopefully I'll get an answer then, right? Saying, oh, we want to do some experimentation on our own, okay? All right. So here is the idea that I had. So there are two kinds of two kinds of ways in which computers, systems, operating systems grow the stack of a program. Okay, one way, which is prevalent in many in many systems, operating systems, is to you get a stack that starts at some low memory address. Let's say 0, right? So when you start, you're given a stack that starts at memory address 0 all the way up to memory address 100 megabytes. So you have 100 megabytes starting at memory address 0. And the top of your stack is really the lowest address. So every time you push something on the stack, it goes there, and then the top is incremented, okay? Goes on to the next higher address. So main has all of its variables located in, let's say, the stack frame that spans memory address 0 to memory address 55. Okay, 55 bytes holds main stack frame, okay? Now main calls another function. That function stack will start, that function stack frame is going to start at frame 56, memory address 56, up to, let's say, 70 or 80 or something like that, right? So each function gets a stack frame whose memory address is larger than the previous one. Yes? Now, so traditionally in some computers, in some operating systems, the way that heap memory and stack memory were managed is that heap memory will start growing on that end, right? From the top down towards the bottom, right? Stack goes from the bottom towards the top. That way, you can have two chunks of memory that are both technically unbounded. Technically, they're, strictly speaking, in practice, they're not unbounded. Okay, stack is always bounded, but technically, you can have two chunks of memory. They're both growing, but they're just growing in opposite directions, and they're not running into each other. Yes. Now, the problem only happens when you have too much stack or too much memory, and they run into each other, and then heap overwrites your stack, or stack overwrites your heap, and everything is corrupted. Yes. And that is the reason why, even though you may have that architecture in the operating system where, you know, stack goes from low to high and heap goes from high to low, still stack has got a fixed size. It cannot grow beyond that. Otherwise, there's a risk that it may eventually contaminate heap memory. Yes, is that point okay with everybody? Okay. Now, in other computers, in other operating systems, they made a decision saying, well, you know what? Our memory management is always going to go from top to bottom or bottom to top, right? So it's unidirectional. So they say, you know, the program stack also starts somewhere in heap memory, but, you know, allocated separate memory, right? But it's also going to grow from bottom to top, right? It's 100 megabytes of memory growing from bottom to top up there. It's an array up there, and heap is also up there. They're both going upwards. Now, suppose you need to find out. Does this operating system have memory that is growing upwards or downwards? It's stack, basically. Does the stack grow upwards or downwards? How can you find out, right? What's an easy way to find out? Now, this is, by the way, this is not a simple question, right? But it's an interesting question, and it is potentially an icebreaker interview question. If you ever are in a situation where you have to interview C++ programmer, it doesn't have to be C++, any programmer, any computer scientist, this is an icebreaker question to have them, you know, to basically loosen up and start, because, you know, giving people interesting things to think about is the way to get them to loosen up, right? If you give them not interesting things to think about, they're going to be thinking about themselves, right? Because they're all self-conscious. In an interview, they're all self-conscious. They're not thinking about the problem, thinking, oh, what am I saying the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Okay. So the way to make them not think like that is to basically give them something interesting that they're going to, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Let me think about that first. Okay. Then they're not self-conscious anymore. So this is an interesting problem that you can throw at people to basically get them off their guard and say, you know, in a good way, saying, all right, so here's something interesting. Let's look at it together. And it's simple enough, and also bound to start an interesting conversation that has scope for more and more interesting questions and questions that come out of it, right? So how can you find out? This is actually a real question. Okay, you can, I think, how can you find out if the stack is growing from the bottom, from low addresses to high addresses, from high addresses to low addresses? How can you find out?
Try running debug mode.
All right, okay. That is definitely possible. Thank you, Michael. Okay. Let's say you can't use a debugger. Okay. Let's say you can't use a debugger. You can only write a program. You can write a program and run it. Okay. You can write a program and run it and look at the output. How can you find out? This is a trick. Okay. There's a trick. And it's not a straightforward trick, but you'll be very pleased with yourself if you come up with it. Okay. I'm pretty sure you'll come up with it if you had a whole day to think about it. Because when you're walking, taking a walk, you'll say, "Hey, that's how I do it." But if the risk is that you may not have the answer right now in class, it'll come later. So if you like, I can tell you the answer right now.
Can you say the question one more time?
Yeah. Who asked the question, by the way?
Juan, can you ask it again?
Juan. Okay. Right. So the stack of the computer, the stack frames, right, or the stack space on some operating systems, it will grow from low addresses to high addresses, meaning every stack frame you put on the stack is going to take up a memory addresses higher than the previous one. Yeah. So my first stack variable is going to be at address 0. That calls another function. That stack variable is going to be at address 1, 2. Higher functions will take higher memory addresses. Okay. So that's how a stack grows upwards. Other computers, stack grows downwards. Okay. Starting from high addresses to low addresses. How can you find out which one it is? And in the process of doing that experiment, we'll discover a lot of interesting things. Okay, going back to our discussion from last class, we'll discover some interesting things about sizes of variables, return addresses, and so on. So it'll be really cool. So if you like, I can tell you the answer right now. The other option is obviously you guys can start playing around right away, right, with different pieces of code. You can even write experiments to do this. And however, that avenue is only possible if one of you at least promises to discuss this problem in Reddit, and then other people try and come up with solutions, and I can tell you, right, eventually saying this is how you can do it, right? I can also tell you on Reddit, but it'll give you more time to think about this problem. Okay, and it's an interesting problem in its own right. How do you find out if the stack grows upwards or downwards? Please don't Google it. Okay, so if you Google it, you can Google everything, right? So you can Google everything. What's the point? So people are not going to hire you to use Google to find an answer to company problems. Okay, so please don't Google it. The answer is out there. I'm pretty sure. Right? Someone
Do you
should
have
posted it.
Do you have any hints on how to even get started on trying to solve this problem? I'm
Yes,
completely
totally,
lost.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. All right. So essentially, what you have here is you can write a function that can print values out, which we know, right? Now, there's an operator. Okay, there's an operator that got introduced a couple of classes ago, which you may have forgotten because we didn't get a chance to use it a lot. Okay, and that operator is called the address of operator, ampersand. Yes or no? Right. So let's do before we're not solving this. Okay, we're going to do something here. Go to your main. Anthony, can you go to your main? Right now, say after int I, yeah, say int j equals something else, right? Int j, you just say int j semicolon. You don't need to do that. Enter. Enter. Now at the end, before the return, and in fact, you can include these also inside the comment now. Yeah, get rid of those and include those. Okay, enter. Now here, what you want to say, cout. Oh, again, indent one more space. Now cout. The variable I is stored in memory at the location within quotes. Yeah, the variable I is stored in memory at location. Yeah, colon space, and then left shift address of I. Right. Address of I is ampersand. No, it's because you haven't used that operator a lot, so you haven't encountered before. Ampersand I. All right. Endl. Yeah, is you done? Right, now copy that and do the same thing for J also. Okay, now if you run it, you will see the actual memory locations where these two variables are being stored. Okay, so if you run it now, okay, there you go. All right, so let me see here. Okay, that is the memory location in hexadecimal. Okay, 0x means hexadecimal, as you probably know from data representation, where the two variables are being stored. Now, as you can see, 5, 7, 2EB, F. So it's a large number. It's a big number, isn't it? Meaning that, Anthony probably has, gigabytes of memory, right, on his laptop. So these memory addresses are up there. However, let's just take a look at the last couple of digits, right? I is stored at location 86C. Yes? These are just interesting things, interesting trivia that will be, useful for you to just noodle on, right? 86C. Now, what is 86C in decimal, right? Just go to Google someone and say, convert a hexadecimal 86C to Google into decimal. In fact, just see, 6C is enough, not, oh, if it's 6C, I can do it in my head, right? So it's going to be 12 plus 6 times 60, 6 times 16. What is 6 times 16? 64 plus 32 is 96, 96 plus 12, 108, right? So 6C should be 108, right? What is 6C in hexadecimal? Someone Google and find out. Hey, Google, what is hexadecimal 6C in decimal?
Sorry, I don't have any information about that, but I found something related. Do you want to know how to convert hexadecimal to decimal?
No, thank you.
Yeah, 6C is 108 in decimal.
108. Thank you. All right. And what is the other one? What's the other one here? 68. What is 68? Oh, obviously we know, right? What is 68 in?
Yeah, that's 104.
104. So J is J is stored at location 104, and I is stored at location 108. Okay, all right. That doesn't tell you the answer to the original question, by the way. Okay, because in the specifications of the compiler, the compiler implementation specs, which absolutely CS2A students have no need to look at it unless they really want to, is in the C++ standard. When you have multiple variables declared inside of a function, there is no restriction. The standard doesn't say which variable has to live where inside of that stack frame. So if you have int I, int j, int k, and so on inside of main, the standard doesn't rule. It doesn't have a rule that says, I has to go before j in the stack and so on, right? So you can have multiple variables, but the order they are placed inside of a single stack frame can't tell you whether the stack goes up or down. Okay, so in order to find out whether the stack goes up or down, you have to do something a little more clever than this. Okay, one little more clever step will take you to exactly the place where you can find out if the stack goes up or down. In this case, we see, right, two variables in main, and variable j is at 104. Variable I is at 108, right? So variable I was declared first in location 108. And this one was in a lower memory location, not higher. Yes? And we know it's 4 bytes. It's exactly 4 bytes because integers are 4 bytes on this computer, right? On Anthony's computer, integers are 4 bytes. It's a 64-bit PC, I bet, right? So integers are 4 bytes long. That is why the space between I and j in the same stack frame is 0, because I takes up 4 bytes and j comes immediately afterwards. 104, 4 bytes, 108. Yes? So those are the two variables stored in memory. Those are the memory locations of the two variables in that frame. Now, that itself cannot tell you whether the stack goes up or down. But you can do one more very simple tweak to this using a function to find out if the stack goes up or down. Okay? Now, what time is it now? Well, we only have like 2 or 5 minutes left. But anyway, we want this to be discussed in the forums, right? So are you guys okay with carrying on a discussion, not on Discord? Okay, you're not getting participation points on Discord. So are you guys okay with carrying on a discussion about how to find out if the stack grows up in memory or down in memory using only the tricks you've learned so far, right? What are the tricks? You know how to print out the variable. You know how to print out variables, and you know how to print out the address of the variable. Okay, that's all you know. Using that, can you guys come up with a way to find out which direction the stack grows? Yeah. You don't have to come up with it right now, right? Right now, what I'll do is we only have 5 minutes left. So I'll turn the laptop around so that I'm not in your face. You guys can have a free form conversation, either about the code, or you can ask Anthony to, hey, Anthony, just in case someone says, I have an idea, I want to try it out. You're still available, right, to type it out?
Oh yeah, I'm still available.
Yeah, okay. All right. So you got about 5 or 10 minutes left. You can still play around with the code, and Anthony will be there, to help us. I'm not going to be in your face, but I'll be there. I'll be listening to you. If you call my name, I'll come back. But otherwise, play around and also brainstorm. Is there a way we can do this? Is there a way we can do this? And someone could propose a way, and someone else could say, well, maybe that'll work, but what about this situation may not work, or it won't work, things like that. Okay, have a cool conversation like that. Is that okay with you guys? Right? This may actually also be a nice clip, a 10-minute clip that you can put on YouTube. Eventually saying, the title of the clip may be on YouTube. How do you find out if your stack grows up or down? Right? 5-minute video clip. 3 students from Foothill College discussing this on YouTube, right? And ends up in a nice little program, 10-line program that they can run. And that program will tell them that your stack grows up or down. That's all, right? It's only 10 lines. I can tell you no more than 10 lines. Okay. So the goal here is for you to come up with that program. And you don't have to be in class. You can just brainstorm in class, form a plan in your heads, and then go back and post a note in the Reddit forums to say this is what happens. Is that okay? Is that was this class useful first of all? Right? We didn't. Yeah. Thank you. We didn't cover a lot of material. With me, just in regurgitating mode. Basically, just saying, oh, here's what it is. Here's what it is. Here's what I've learned. Here's from my experience in life. Shit like that is, we actually covered coding, but we didn't do a lot of code like we did before, like, do something, parabola and things like that. We'll get a chance to do all that later on, right? Today's class focused more on important little concepts and small functions, but they're all important, especially from the point of view perspective of the midterm. So this is all going to be, and people who didn't attend class today, they can score at least 5 extra points in the midterm just by watching today's lecture, right? Because a lot of things we covered in today's lecture are going to be in the midterm, right? So just by watching today's lecture and making sure they're all, and especially Anthony has a really strong leg up in the midterm because he coded today. Because my granddad used to tell me writing once is equal to reading twice, right? And when I was a kid, I used to read and not write. But eventually, I found out that if I actually wrote something, it's actually more powerful than reading, because writing something is actually reading it several times as you're reading it. Your writing speed is slow, right? So it sticks in your mind better. So when someone is coding on screen, that will stick in their heads much, much better than someone who's watching. And even if you're coding on your own, that's okay, right? If you're coding, much better, rather than watching and learning. Watching and learning never helps, okay? Even YouTube videos, Khan Academy, and all these things, they all give you, code samples, and you can watch it and say, hey, that's how breadth first search works, okay? No, no way you can learn that. And you actually have to implement it. You'll have to go back to the video and implement it first anyway, right? So the only way to understand things is by doing it, like Nike says, I'm gonna do it. All right, so are you guys happy with this so far? And can I turn the laptop around for the rest of the class? Play around, have a discussion, and people can slowly feel free to drop off too, right? Because it's the end of class. And next week on Tuesday, we'll start looking at, no, this is not week 6. This is week 6. This is week 5, isn't it? This is week 5. Is it week 5 or
This
week
is
6?
week 5. Week 5.
Oh, thank you. All right. Okay. So next week is your midterm. Technically, I can still cover all the material, even if I started talking about objects in week 7, right? Because in the past, I remember week 6 was mainly a review week. We didn't introduce any new topics in week 6. And we talked about the midterm and questions and things that were confusing up to then. But if you don't have anything that's confusing, we can start talking about objects on Tuesday itself, which means that as we get to the closer to the end of the class, we'll actually be in a position to implement something much bigger than what we've implemented in previous classes, right? Maybe actually take a really nice working project that will be useful really to, to people. We can actually start working on that towards the end of class, end of this course, which I don't think we had an opportunity to do before, but we'll play it by ear. Okay, so next class, maybe we'll talk about objects, introduce objects already, but I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't do that before a midterm, because then you don't want to be thinking about objects in your midterm. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so we still have next class for review, and then we'll start talking about objects and more sophisticated things that we can do, more fun things we can do, right? The week after that. All right, so I'm going to turn the laptop around. If you guys have to drop off. The last person to go, just call me so I can switch off the recording. Otherwise, I think I'm happy with what we covered today. And for the first time, we actually covered every single topic that I had in my head that I wanted to cover. Usually we don't run out of time and say, well, that's enough. We'll do it next class. I'll leave it for Reddit and you guys to finish off. We actually finished everything thanks to Anthony and to also the topics that we had to cover today. Is self-contained. So that's really cool. All right. So thank you all. Have a fantastic weekend. But for the remainder of today's class, 5 minutes or so, please talk. Maybe even code if you have an opportunity, and then you can sign off. Okay. Hey, Jaden, did you raise your hand or something, or you good?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you to look into the practice midterm to hopefully.
I'll do that. Okay. So it should close on next Wednesday, not this Wednesday. All right. Thank you, guys. Okay, I'll do the practice midterm later on today. Thanks. Bye.
So in terms of the question, I think I figured it out.
You have an idea?
So I mean, so he was saying how if you call a variable in a function, it'll go on top of the stack or below it. So I guess that we can try that. So we can try creating a function that just creates an integer or a string or something, and then find the address of that by a cout.
The same way we did in the main.
Yeah, but except we'll do it in a function just to see where it creates it. So yeah, we can.
So it's fully on something. But did you want to try that, or?
Yeah, let's. We can create a new function. Void, which is called void print string. Actually, I didn't try printing a string. I wonder what happens.
It's not what I meant to do.
Yeah, void print string, and it could be empty. So it doesn't call anything. Yeah, and then curly brace. Let's just say string space hello equals in quotes hello and semicolon. Oh no, string, yeah, you had it. String hello equals a hello in quotes. In quotes, the double quotes. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I don't think you need the parentheses. I don't think it's necessary. I think you can keep it there though. And then we can just type cout memory of hello colon space left shift ampersand hello. Left shift and L. Yeah, and then if we call that in our main, I think call print string in our main, it'll give us a memory location. Yeah, print, yeah, we can just say print string parentheses. Yeah, and then semicolon, and then if we run it, it should give us that string.
Oh,
Okay, so it looked like it printed it out at a lower number, right? Because that's an 8.
I think it did.
Okay, and then the next thing I tried, I think I figured it out based on what professor was saying earlier in class, but I don't know, does anyone wanna? I don't know, I don't wanna like give away the answer, but at the same time, I don't know if my answer's right, so.
Yeah, I thought if you just did it, like printed two different things in the same function, and you could compare them that way, but maybe that's not right.
Thanks for coding for today.
Yeah, not a problem.
See you, everyone.
Alright, bye.
Time's up. Okay, yeah, I do have to get over to my next class. So I will catch you guys
Okay.
later.
Okay. Oh, I didn't want to get, okay. So, I mean, I want to, okay, so I'm just gonna share my answers since everyone's leaving. So,
Don't start.
the professor was saying how if you call a static variable, it does it in the start of the code. Or the start
Oh.
of the code. So I
Oh,
just
true.
called, instead of calling a string hello, I called static string. And then it gave me a completely different number than what was
Oh,
really close.
because the static string is where it's supposed to, where it stops at. It starts. Okay.
So,
sense, yeah.
if you call it as a static, I think we should get a very different number. So. Nice. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
7F instead of 7, 8. Wait, is that a higher number? Can't tell.
I think this might be a higher number now.
Yeah, that looks like a higher number.
Which if it's before, if it's the very start of the code.
Oh yeah, it's a much higher number.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting. I got a lower number.
Hmm.
So, let's see, let me see. Column. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so it looks like maybe, wait, can it be different? Now I'm confused. Interesting. Okay. Cause yeah, when I called my hello, I had like 6-1, and then when I changed to static, it became 4-0. So it's definitely like a huge difference. And yeah, mine was a lot lower.
Mine, I was 9F, and then the static one was 7F.
Okay, so yours was lower.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, so Anthony is getting a higher number for some reason, which is, yeah, that's pretty interesting. I wonder if it's different. And it's a pretty big difference too. Yeah, it's 7F, so that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
It's not like a small difference. Okay, interesting. Okay. Well, that was cool. I don't know if that solved the problem, but it's pretty cool. But can it work differently? I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, you have the same VS Code, I would assume, or is it based on the operating system? I don't know. I don't know what it's based on.
Right.
I wonder if it is based on the operating system.
Okay, that's cool. Are you on Windows 10?
Actually, mine switched to Windows 11 recently while I didn't want it to.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm still on Windows 10. All right, well, I
Check my
think
data bar.
that's it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right,
All right. So we'll catch you guys next week then.
all right, bye.
Good.
Take care.
Head out too. Bye.
Oh, all done then? I can, all right, great. I
Let's take it
will,
off.
thank you, Tim.
Mhm.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Let me, where's the mouse? Okay, see you next week.